don't think Pearl is the problem. This thing that we're seeing with the white supremacist that she interviewed, I think it should be a come to Jesus moment for our people, because again, on one side, we critique women for falling for the very shallow, superficial rebukes of a Derek Jackson, right? Derek Jackson said all the shit that women want to hear, and then they made him rich and famous. And unfortunately, what I found is that a lot of men fall for the same Derek Jackson-esque rhetoric on this side. And one of the issues that our women have with us, and I've heard women say this, because again, I actually like black women, I'm trying to correct them, is that some black men are very fickle. Some black men have no backbone. Some black men are very easy to manipulate sexually, manipulate through status or through belonging, whatever the case may be. And because of that, it's hard for those men to see the writing on the wall. Therefore, it's hard for those men to be taken advantage of. Therefore, I don't feel safe with those men. With this Just Pearly situation, I don't think Just Pearly is a racist white woman. I think Just Pearly is a 26-year-old white girl who doesn't have a deep or nuanced understanding of half the shit she's talking about, and has very explicitly said, I'm doing this for entertainment. The optics of the people that I'm doing it with, doing it through, are black people. Therefore, I see black people as entertainment. She's a white lady who saw an opportunity and took it. I blame the market. As a people, we are a joke. I'm talking about from inviting every white guy who has just a lick of rhythm to the cookout, to any white girl who has a fat ass, oh, now she's a dime piece. We are a fucking joke. We talk about how the racist world distills us into our bodies and our entertainment value and our, utility to feed whatever it is that they want. But we do the same thing as well. And in this case, we saw a clearly clueless white woman prop up problematic black people and put microphones and cameras in front of them. And after the passing of Kevin Samuels, we direct our attention to that. And to be fair, that's my same critique with the Lapeef Network. The Lapeef Network is doing the exact same thing. It's Bad Girls Club for men, right? There's a demand for it, whether it's from Just Pearly things or whether it's the next clueless white woman who might look better than her who comes along. There's going to be a line of men who are phenotypically black, but internally Caucasian, who are going to lap it up. If we're talking about the Jewish community, even if anything that they've said or they've put forth was embellished, even if just going with that premise, you even saying that would get you excommunicated. But the black community, you say whatever the hell you want, and we'll quote Thomas Sowell and we'll quote whatever bullshit we can find on the internet to back it up. And then we'll fall back on the whole, well, black people are not a monolith. That's why black people are a joke. That's why black people are fucking exploited all over the place, because we can't even be one band, one sound. Some people say on code with anything. And I didn't fully realize this until I became a quote unquote content creator. But right now we criticize musicians, and we criticize even filmmakers for putting out trash. Well, artists aren't putting out albums anymore because albums don't fucking sell. People want singles. Even this, people want reactions. All right, the biggest YouTubers in this fucking space don't make any original content. They react. The biggest channels that we're seeing don't make any content. They just argue. They bicker. So what does that say to creators who actually have some good shit to say? Oh no, people want reactions. And people want fucking Bad Girls Club. So again, I think this Just Pearly things is an opportunity for us to look at ourselves. This is a conversation that black men have to have with black men, black women have to have with black women. Because at the end of the day, we have to decide okay, do we want progress? Yes. How do we put our efforts and energy, not even necessarily money, but efforts and energy towards the progress that we want to see? This is how we do it. We support this person, that person. Like I said, I was a fan of Tiesan Johnson before I even started making YouTube. I was more of a fan of Tiesan than Kevin Samuels. I watched more Tiesan videos than Kevin Samuels videos. Or if we say, oh, this shit is dead, I just want, I want a soundtrack, to listen to as the world explodes, then yes, continue consuming the bullshit that you're consuming. Like it's incredible to me when I watch a Tiesan video, for instance, just using him as an example. The most you'll see viewing his live streams are, I think on the high end, 300, 400. But Lapeef Network, where they're literally middle-aged people regurgitating the same shit over and over again. You know, big bank take little bank. They playing those fucking schoolyard games. And the Anton and this person are arguing, and this person are arguing every single Thursday. 1.2K views or viewers. And we expect the people who actually have quality, who actually have good shit to say, who could actually, we need to have more solution-oriented conversation. But when the solution-oriented conversation is being had, those people get 20 viewers. But Lapeef, who should pay for the first date and fucking schoolyard shit, 2,000 views. Like it.
Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Professor Carl, Tone Jones, Patrick Irvin. We're here to break down this video by the gentleman Obi from the We Need to Talk YouTube channel. Go check him out. I make sure I put the link to his channel and this video in the description. But the overall tone that I'm taking from this is, are we a joke? And if we are a joke, why are we a joke? And what can we do to not be a joke any damn more? Because there's nothing worse than being the damn joke of the world. There's nothing worse than being the group of people who no one respects, who everybody steps on, who everybody spits on. And as of right now, especially from the tone and the tone of the information that the gentleman had in the video, he's giving his opinion with the information that he has to show that we really don't want real progress. We just want to party and bullshit and just have fun. And the result of that is the actual progress and the respect that we feel that we deserve. We're not getting it because, for one, we don't deserve it. We're not working for it. We're not doing the things that we need to do. We're buffoons right now. So we're going to be here to break that down. Are we buffoons? Are we a joke? And if so, how the hell we get from being a joke to get to being respected people? So, Pat, I'm going to go to you first, my brother. I know you be raw dogging it. So this is your first time seeing the video. What's your overall tone? What's your overall talk? Two things. Overall tone, also in the context of the information that he put, kind of like your opening statement on ideas of are black people a joke?
I think black people are a joke, but not because of any of the reasons he listed.
Okay.
I don't think that the work being done, like he started out basically by giving the whole point of the statement he was trying to make, which was to solidify and validate the feelings of the women that he talked to.
About about men falling for the grifters,
right?
Okay,
right. Because and then that he picked a particular person, being Pearl, and he kind of made her out as if she was something more than she was. Now, I'm not saying Pearl didn't have influence. Of course, Pearl did. We did shows talking about the men that had lined up to follow Pearl, but we also know that the movement that Pearl joined was going on before her and was fairly large before her. And Pearl pretty much became a lightning rod in the community because she was a white girl and she was an easy target for opponents of black men to attack. So from that standpoint, the argument becomes disingenuous. I gotta believe the brother knows more about the space than he's letting on, but because he's trying to mend the gap as he sees it by bringing black women back to the table and getting them to lower their defenses, but he's doing it at the expense of invalidating the experiences of black men who are pushing these talking points. And to the other thing, I used to be there too, so I'm not going to go at the brother because I understand exactly where he's coming from in terms of like this schoolyard bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And I remember back when I first started looking at black relationships on this level. You know, at this point, it's been more than 10 years since I first started looking at it. And trying to get people then to understand like we need to look at the relationship between black men and black women because it's not in a good space. And at the time, everybody was saying we don't need to worry about that right now. We got bigger fish to fry. That's what everybody was saying at the time. I see PC smiling. It wasn't just PC. It was not just, it was literally everybody was saying it. Black men, black women across the spectrum. And I understood the positioning. We got bigger fish to fry. Like we got bigger things to take care of. We can't get caught up in this. And there are a lot of people now that still refuse. Like one of the big points I used to always make is we got to see black people for who they are, where they are, and deal with the issues that they're prepared to deal with. This is a young man making this, or maybe an old man, middle-aged man. This is a man making statements from a position that is not accepting the community that he claims to want to help, the community that he claims to want to uplift. The people are telling you something. It might be schoolyard bullshit to you, but to everybody experiencing it, it's real. Black men feel a kind of way and they don't want to build with this version of black women, and telling them to overlook that and get back to the building is not the answer. Like this is a solutions focused conversation, and it's the same with the women. Black women feel disenfranchised and disillusioned because of their roles in society, and telling them to overlook that so that they can build, it becomes there is no solutions based conversation to be had if black men and black women are not together. So this is coming from, like, we've been doing this show for a while now, years. I'm correct, right? It's been
this one by 2 years, 2.5.
And we've been having these conversations for 10.
More than 10.
All of our conversations are solutions focused at some point or another. Yeah, we riff, we talk our shit, we move. But at some point, we always get the solutions. I think the other part of these conversations about it is people are so quick to rush the solutions because they don't want to deal with the nuances and intricacies of what's happening. When the brother said, I do love black women, I do, you know, he's making an assertion and an assumption there. The assumption being people that don't think like me, people that think like them don't love black women. They don't love black people. That's not true. A lot of these people wouldn't be hurt as much as they are hurt if they did not love a black man that don't love black women don't give a fuck about what black women do.
Right. Now, just real quick, when I heard him say that, I took that as he was saying that because people have accused him of not loving black women, maybe because of some of the content that he's
But see, you don't, and this is where I get into, okay, so now we have a conversation about maturity and responses and understanding propaganda and narratives. Like, you can't. So if you going on when I say crazy shit, I'm fully prepared for the backlash, the feedback of it. And if anybody watching the show notices, I don't even be in the comments, so I ain't gonna see your hate anyways. But when people come to me and they're positioning it in a way where they're attacking other black men, I don't come back and say, well, because now you come off as the dude that's trying to get in with the girl who done friend zoned you, but talking to you about the dude she like. You're like, well, if it was me, I would never treat you like that because I feel like that's how it comes off. Mm-hmm. Nah, brother, just be like, look, I understand, because I've had this conversation with black women all the time. I understand you feeling the way you feel. I get that. But understand that if for you to say that these men don't love black women, where's the hatred? If you're saying all these black men just hurt, somebody that don't give a fuck about you, you can't hurt them. So if you're going to say I'm hurt, You have to say, I care about you. You have to say that.
Yeah.
So that's how you could position that in a way where you're not invalidating the feelings of the women, but you're also not coming across as somebody that is disingenuous or seen as an enemy of state for the brothers. Because both arguments, if you want to navigate the space, you got to accept that there's validity in terms of perspectives on both sides. That don't mean both sides are right. It don't mean both sides are accurate. That just means that from both perspectives, they feel like they're right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I do agree that those types of shows get more views than anything else. But I also, because in the past, I used to get mad that those types of shows would get more than like what we were talking about here. But then as after reading your book and, deep diving more, and even like he talked about getting into Dr. Tiasan Johnson. No, I get it. I get it. So as a creator, I get it. As a human being, as an adult, as somebody who's grown, as a creator, I get it. I understand why certain content gets certain views. And I know his position is we love to be entertained more than we like to be educated. And that is a true statement.
That's true. That's very true.
That is a true statement. And that does have truth in this conversation. But going back to what you were saying, the importance of the conversation of the rift between black men and black women, that's an important conversation. And now how the conversation is had, no, that could be critiqued, but that is an important conversation to have.
But this is, and I'm going to say this before, because I know PC, but even to say the entertain, that goes back, like when I'm trying to keep it brief, but I'm loading my statements intentionally. Even when I say you have to meet people where they are, black people are people at the end of the day, and people would prefer to be entertained versus educated. That's a human trait. So we get into these conversations where we have these unrealistic expectations about the maturity level and the frequency level of a people that have been subjugated and abused their entire existence. That's not fair.
Well, even to that point where you're saying that, though, looking back throughout human history, human beings, whether they were subjugated to the point where we are or not, love to be entertained.
Right. And so the only reason I bring up the subjugation aspect is to say,
you're supposed to be entertained.
Right. If there's a group of people that have overrode basic human nature to love education over entertainment, that group of people has had the time, energy, and perspective and growth and development and freedom
self-actualization.
To evolve to another stage. A subjugated people are denied all the things necessary to evolve. So here we are, still at the basic, most primal level of existence, which is entertain me, give me pleasure, and leave me the fuck alone. Deal with it.
Yeah. So PC, thoughts on the video and your opening statement on if we are joke and kind of solution based, because we're gonna lead to the solution, but all black people are joking. If so, why?
Man, Pat done said it all. We can just end this shit now. No, you covered a lot of ground. I had to cross off like half my notes because you covered a lot of stuff. There's no need to say it twice. Yeah, but okay. So to answer the first part, are black people a joke? Hell yeah. But I don't think that black people, and I rarely do this, but I don't, just like what Pat was saying, just like what both of you were saying, I don't think black people in this perspective need to be isolated in terms of the only people that don't take things seriously or have been taken advantage of. The only difference is we don't have the counterbalance to that. So other groups have nations, they have cultures to fall back on. Black people are the only ones that policies were put into place, laws were put into place, terrorism was put into place to prevent black people from coalescing and black people in America specifically into that unified unilateral culture. Even to the point now where black people will tell you that we're not a monolith. All those other groups are monoliths. They acknowledge being a monolith at some point. They acknowledge a place of origin, and they acknowledge a place where they all come together and have a unified front on specific issues and topics protecting of their cultures. I mean, he even mentioned it with the Jewish community. Well, unlike the black community, the Jewish community was supported globally. There were several wars fought to maintain the protections of the Jewish community. The Jewish community was given a whole country to call home. The black Americans have not been given anything. In fact, everything that was supposed to be given to black Americans was taken from black Americans in the name of diversity, in the name of people of color, in the name of minorities, in the name of affirmative action. All those different things were taken. So, and I'm not even going back 100 years. I'm only going back 60 years. Right? So when you look at it, yes, black people, and we often talked about how the fact that we're dealing with arrested development as the people, purposefully placed. Black people were not allowed to grow up. Black men were not ever allowed to be black men. Not ever allowed to be men in this society. But it's interesting because I was him before I knew better. I was that young brother, and I can recall about 15 years ago coming on the social media saying, yo, we need to do this, we need to do that. You guys are wasting time. You know, back then I was on my New World Order kick, you know. And I'm saying then I'm pouring in because at the time Facebook had really just become popular. And the people that I worked with, people who I knew personally, said, hey man, I work hard all day long. I come to social media to put my feet up. I don't come to social media for all this other shit. You can keep that shit to yourself. And I was like, and I was so defeated at that time. Because I was like, y'all just don't see it. How is it that I see it? Like I was one of the chosen, right? And but then you know, a friend of mine said, listen, why don't you just write a blog? That way, the people who are interested in what you have to say will go to your blog. And I started a blog called The Rabbit Hole. Ironically, a lot of things I talk about in the rabbit hole the predictions came true. But you know, that's neither here nor there. But you know, the brother, Patrick touched on something, and I was actually writing it when he said it, which was like, well, I was like, I'm just have to scribble all this shit up. You can only really truly understand the nature of our condition through an evolved mind. And it's an evolution that you take that most of the community, most people alive will never get there. They will never be able to see it from their vantage point. They will never be able to understand the intricacies of what's happening around us to make us move this way. And most of us, and it's not even that they don't have the ability, but you have to have a certain type of will to do with that. That's why when you had, you know, and this is European history, and we're talking, you can go back to, you know, give them cake, give them games, so that they wouldn't be talking about the fact that they're, you know, being overly taxed in their society, and Rome was falling apart. You know, you can talk about, like, even when post 9/11, the biggest deal was for the New York Giants to have a football game. Post 9/11, like the very after that weekend of games being canceled, America rallied behind the New York Giants playing a football game.
Just like they did with the Saints after the hurricane.
Right, after Hurricane Katrina. Right. So, and if you go into the forest fires out there in California and San Diego, you know, it's just one of those things where we often look for diversions because our day-to-day life is pretty hard. Life is hard right now. And that's something that when you can sit in front of a computer and you can sit on social media and you utilize social media to earn a living, you sort of you lose perspective on a lot of things. And a lot of people I know that on social media, they don't go outside as much. They don't interact as much. They live in ivory towers. And I'm not saying, like, listen, I want to be clear, I'm not bashing a young brother. You know what I'm saying? We've been there. I've been pandering to black women. Black women, I love you. And it would always be a qualifier because I'm about to say something that's going to hurt your feelings.
Well,
it's going to be a truth I can't swallow.
To be fair to him, because I do watch some of his content. To be fair, because this is one video he do. I think he do a pretty good job of making sure that on a regular basis he don't pander. I would say that this video would be the exception. So I would give him that.
Yeah. We players fuck up. But I mean, he brought up some good points, right?
Yeah, he did.
He brought up the point that black men are easy to manipulate, and that's why black women don't trust them. But
let's get into it. Because that's what I wanted to get into.
The origins of that is the fact that black boys have always been brought up in a matrifocal society, meaning our whole goal in life was to please our mama, please grandma, make sure we look out for our sisters, treat our women like love your woman like you would love your mother. Everything about us was about pleasing women. And like Chris Rock would say, nobody's more, only women and children and dogs are loved unconditionally. He was talking about the black experience. Other people chimed in, but he was talking about the black experience.
I mean, but wasn't black men pretty much socialized to be gullible and fickle, especially when it comes to that masculine, that idealistic masculine position that today's black women think black men have always had?
Well, here's where I would say, because I actually disagree with that point. I think black women don't trust black men because they've been groomed not to. I don't think there's anything that black men because here's the thing, and I think part of it is the psychology of women. And yes, I am one of those people. I think men and women's brains are wired differently.
They are.
So, but I think when you look at it, when you look at what when you hear, from my experience with women, when you hear women say men aren't trustworthy, what she's actually saying is the men that I like have hurt me.
But see, I think that's the beauty of this conversation, because in my opinion, neither one of you are wrong. I think both things are true. Black men have been socialized to be gullible, and black women have been socialized to not trust black men and to not respect black men, and think black men are not going to protect them, because we've both been socialized to be against each other and to be against ourselves.
But
and that
the gullibility is irrelevant.
Why you say that?
Because they love black men that buy into the narratives that they like. Right. A black man that buys in easily. So if gullibility gives them the ick, then any black man that changes positions quickly and is fickle would give them the ick. So why do they flock to black men that change their position to one that they favor?
Because the same. So we talk about why simps be getting stuff to what they're getting, right? Well, that's the simp you talk about.
Well, it is. Here's where they're related, in my, just based on what I've observed. They're related because what she says she wants is the gullible man, but what she really desires is the man that's unflappable. The problem is the grooming of black men in the black community has basically been one who makes adjustments to whatever the women want, for the most part. That's why there's been such a uproar over the last few years when black men have been saying that You know, this is what we want. These are our standards. Wait a minute. You don't have standards. You don't have we can have standards. You got to be 6 feet tall, at least, preferably 6'2" or 6'3". You have to have 6-pack abs. You have to, make 6 figures, and you have to have a long, strong eggplant and have marathon sex with me every chance you get. You got to have all your spare time, this, that, and the other. The list goes on. Some women have lists about 40, 50 things long on their list about what a man has to do. A man can say, well, I like a woman that's in shape, physically speaking. Well, you don't deserve it's like you don't deserve to have that standard. You don't deserve, and it more so comes to a place like, because I think Patrick's right. Black women have been designed not to trust black men, not to follow black men's leadership. That's why I always find it funny when I see women, and I see some noodle ass dudes talking about the fact that if you lead properly, she'll follow, or she'll naturally fall into a feminine. And we've had conversations about women who, when they've been in our presence and then identified that our masculinity has allowed them the space to be feminine, how they've actively, knowingly fought against that. So they and I'll be just fair. Our women don't like us. They might love us in some sense, but they don't like us. That's why they could be so mean to us. The show that I'm doing tonight is actually going to talk about how when sisters go to other places in the world, they don't hold those men to the same standards that they hold black men to. Hell, they don't even do that here in America. But they don't, so,
that leads. Or Pat, you want to add to that?
No, I mean, I was just gonna, because my thing is, from my conversations with women, and I preface that so that women understand that I'm not pulling this out of my ass. Women don't want the gullibility. Again, I say it's not a thing. Because they want the man that they like to be gullible and believe the things that they believe. They don't like it when a man is pursuing them, or a man that they like doesn't believe the things that they believe, especially if they see him transition from a position they like to a position they don't. So again, if we're going to say gullible, then it would need to be the fickle nature all the way around is disgusting to women. But that's not the case. All three of us could be flooded with women right now if we just started turning around and bashing men.
Right. But see, I think, and I hear what you're saying, but I think you might be a little too far into technical, Ted, because I think because everything you just said, it makes sense, but do they actually really do that? Because I mean, because
women,
yeah, because somehow, some way, simps out here getting what they want. Simps out here existing. Simps out here messing up the game. And I hear what you're saying. And I'm not saying what you said is wrong, but what I'm saying is I think women, well, we know, they'll say one thing and do something else and respond to different things, and different responses come at different times. And so, because it has to be an explanation of why the simps and the fickle men do, well, not all, but some get some leeway. They get traction, they get movement.
Well, we got to break down the level, the kinds of simps, because if we talking about the bum simp down the street, he don't get nothing.
Right, because he ain't got nothing.
And that's my point. Men that got something, because we got to remember, women don't see the men that don't got nothing.
Right, I get that, but because and we just use the Russell Wilsons, right? We just use that because everybody knows the Russell Wilson. So we all know if Russell Wilson didn't have the contract, Russell Wilson wouldn't have Sierra. We all know.
Right. So, but my point is this: the men they like. I did not define the men they like for a reason, but one of the definitions of the men they like is a man that has something to offer.
Of course.
So that eliminates a large chunk of men right there. Because it's not just do you have something to offer, it's do you have something to offer that she wants? So now we get into this, and that's where I say a man that has something to offer that she enough to offer that she wants, she don't care that he fickle.
I agree with that.
So that's where I hear what you're saying. You might be a little bit too technical, Ted, with it.
Right.
I get that. Okay. So let me bring it down. But I get what you're saying. I get you.
Yeah. Now that leads to because he got to the point of white people are always invited to the cookout. So that leads to like the easy access that he was talking about that we have to our culture and our communities. And I mean he's spot on with that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The first, when I think about that, the first video pop in my head is the video that went viral of the marching band, and the white guy, the little white boy, was a drum major, and because he had rhythm and he was in line, and he was marching and doing all the things that they practiced that he was supposed to do because they practiced that shit. But the fact that he was able to do it, and he was able to do it in sync with the other black people and put his own little flair on it like everybody does. You know, we act like we've never seen white people do stuff, and then when Tommy does something. Because matter of fact, I was to that point in the comment section. I was watching a video earlier about Umar going off on LeBron James because he had a podcast with JJ Reddick. No, I'm talking about the comment section though. But in the comments, somebody was like, JJ Reddick invited to the cookout, and I'm like, for what? Like for what he did, because he on a podcast with LeBron. But it's just, that's an example of like I guess you could say the overall fickle nature, but not even that, the extent of the conditioning why I would say this, the coupling of the conditioning with the nature of black people, because black people have always been too welcoming to outsiders, and add the condition on top of that, we're worse. So now not only are we letting them come in, but we letting them all in the family, the cookouts, and making the mashed potatoes and and not the mashed potato, but the potato salad. That's why all your potato salad got raisins in it.
Man, listen, I don't even want to go to that damn cookout.
I'm not going.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna sit this one out, y'all. Man, black, what bothers me about that is first of all, the lack of civic pride. I'm gonna come back to that in a second. But first of all, the shallowness that black people treat our own culture. We don't have any self-respect. We don't have any communities respect, which goes back to the civic pride. We don't have any civic pride in being black. And I've watched black people go into this whole thing where they'll express their Eurocentric values, their shallow lifestyles and things that make them sort of pseudo important to them in terms of materialism, status in this particular society. But at the same time, when it comes to Kwanzaa or when it comes to Martin Luther King's birthday, all of a sudden, they'll do a blackish, rendition of how black people are the real Americans because we've bled more for this country and all this other bullshit. And it's really hollow and shallow to me, because if you really think about it, black people are the most anti-American people on the planet. America does not love black people. America did everything in all of its documentation, all of the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, even the different states that wrote rights in their constitutions and laws and policies, did everything to outlaw power for black people in this country. So for black people to sit up here and still try to say, we're going to crash this party of America and you're going to like it, the only reason you're allowed to stay is because you're useful. You're either they can utilize your ingenuity, you entertain them, or you serve them. And if you don't do one of those three things, then your ass is getting kicked out of the party and you might not make it to the parking lot.
Wait, you know what? So in my Monday video, we're reading France Fanon's Wretched of the Earth. And this is the second part of the first chapter on violence. And the the overall tone is violence being seen as a means of being seen as a tool to liberate yourselves from oppression. But looking at colonialism, looking at the state of colonialism, anti-colonialism, and post-colonialism, focusing on, okay, because we talk about, you know, getting ourselves away from white America, liberating ourselves from white America, being free. You made the documentary, What Does an Independent Black Community Look Like? What does an independent Black nation look like? Like, you made the documentary, but let's just be honest. The overall conversations, we talk about this liberation, we talk about these things that we want, but we're not prepared for what we talk about. We're not even prepared to want to become free. So we're not prepared for life after liberation. But another thing he pointed out within that is, when you were a nation that gains its freedom from a superpower, you, like Haiti. Look at what happened to Haiti. Haiti was able to win the Haitian Revolution, but then Haiti became re-colonized by the French and all these other nations economically. And then look at the state of Haiti now. Right. Oh, well, they, of course, but but we're talking about the state of where a people would be after they are so-called liberated. So now you are a nation of people in survival. We have no allies, we have no resources, you have little wealth, and you got land, but you don't have none of the other things, and you need the other things to help you cultivate your land and be able to build yourself up. So you are now still dependent upon the very nation that you liberated yourself from.
Yeah. And you can see that in just about every liberated country who liberate themselves from European domination. And the thing is that and it's missing in a lot of those things. And some of the things is missing, especially with the delusion of a lot of Black nationalists and Pan-African outfits, is the fact that spent so much time practicing to be free. Nobody ever figured out the intricacies of what it looks like to run a free nation, to run a free group of people, to be in position in a position of power.
Yeah, because the focus is always on getting free, and a lot of times the focus isn't even on how to get free. It's just getting free. And go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
But we have no plans for none of that. It's all ambition. It's all want. It's all desire. No real plans, planning it out for it. And so that leads back to us being the laughing stock of the country, the laughing stock of the world. That leads to us being looked at as a joke and being treated as a joke and being talked about as a joke because we behave like a joke. We're so emotional.
We behave like a bunch of people that's defeated. That's what we behave about. We behave, we behave like, stop kicking our ass. That's what we behave like. We don't. It's to the point where the demoralization is kicked in so much that people will defend a sexy red, even though now she represents what, like, if you think about the image of Black women, there's nobody can look at even the professional Black women. Look at the Fannie Willises of the world. Look at the Tiffany Henyards of the world. It's ratchet no matter what fucking position they're in.
Well, our behavior. We Black people, too many Black people, period. We run our lives, our houses, our business, our communities, our societies like we work at Popeyes.
I think this is where I agree with him in terms of the gullibility aspect.
Yeah.
Black people are a joke because we're fickle and gullible. I agree with that.
Yes, that's why I wrote that down.
The whole male-woman dynamic, that's a whole separate conversation.
But Black people as a whole?
Black people as a whole being viewed as a joke. I agree with that analysis. And I think the analysis is borne out every time we bring up a major, like we we'll go back to Haiti, and I know I catch a lot of flack for this, and I'm gonna continue to catch flack for it until somebody can help me understand it otherwise. Haiti is a great example, in my opinion, of the gullibility of black people, because we say Haiti defeated the French and won their independence, and the image that conjures into the minds of people is not an accurate image. The truth of the matter is, France determined Haiti wasn't worth the effort. They gave it up. They said, fuck it. It ain't even worth the soldiers. We got other shit we got going on. But y'all motherfuckers gonna pay y'all. We gonna tax you. And Haiti also understood we don't want the full force of a superpower coming down on us. We'll pay the tax. They've been paying the tax. And even after they finished paying the tax in the early 1950s, late 1940s, somewhere around there, PC will correct me if I'm wrong. He always do. Either during the show or after the show, he'll correct me. But even after the tax, they're still to this day suffering from the tax.
That's not
so the argument could be made that they're still paying the tax. Meanwhile, what is France doing? Well, France got other things to worry about than little old Haiti.
France milking money from Haiti, African countries, other provinces all over the world. They milking money. They doing what white supremacy superpowers are supposed to do.
So we think about it and we say, okay, I love the story of Haiti because there's so many lessons in it. We can't access any of them because black people refuse to engage in an intellectually honest dialogue about what happened from the perspective of understanding it so that we can do something better. And that viewpoint is played out even when we have conversations about how do we deconstruct white supremacy, like you guys were just talking about with PC's documentary, deconstructing white supremacy. Never mind what do we build afterwards. Motherfuckers can't even conceptualize deconstructing it because it's so easy to just feel good about how you would feel if you could wake up one day and not be black. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where I'm like, and you hear that even in the young brother's talking points that he had in the black people. We're gullible. We don't take nothing serious. Everything is entertainment. This, that, and the third. Well, brother, that to me sounds like you've bought into a particular narrative. And I'm not blaming you for that. I'm not. What I am saying is, I'm not blaming them for it because there is some truth to that narrative. I think there's some truth to most narratives. What I am saying is, we are three brothers, and we know of other brothers who are all serious about at least figuring out a game plan. Fuck the masses. Find your critical group that can get you to the critical mass. And if you never get there, do your part. I don't understand why in the year of our Lord and Savior 2024 we still grabbing our nuts and hitting it with a hammer and then getting mad that our stomach hurt. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, because I was going to say, I would imagine because of the content that he creates and some of the content creators that he has collaborated with, I would imagine that his feed maybe, I'm not sure, maybe similar to mine, but you watch one video about relationships and you're going to get flooded with a whole bunch of them. I'm sure you two know about that too. You watch one about relationships, especially YouTube. YouTube will inundate you with you'll get a 1,000 versions of the same podcast, and YouTube will inundate you with that. So with that being said, if you are watching that, if you're seeing that, of course, in your mind and your purview, this is the abundance of the content that's out here. But that's your point of view. That's your point of view because of the algorithm. Not that, but
Well,
because like you're saying, but he pointed out Dr. Tuen Johnson. So there's somebody like you saying with the critical, get with the critical components, link with Dr. T and do your thing.
Well, go ahead, Pat.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that part. And shout out to JR and Lapeef network. I saw an episode of my homie Sweeney on there, so shout out Sweeney. In the clip. and I have been on the Lapeef network a few times. But only for King's Talk. So that's just when it's the brothers up there having conversations, and I like that because it's more focused. The thing is, those shows that people see, Joe, you hit it. It's the algorithm. The algorithm, and Dr. Tuen Johnson himself has been talking about how he's been shadow banned, how he's lost, subscribers. YouTube would just snatch subscribers off your channel, and people have to reapply, and how hard it is to find his videos when he puts them up. So that I think you need to be more genuine when you have that type, when you point to that, because what he's trying to say is that black people are flocking to the Mean Girls Club, which or whatever, and that's not necessarily the case. I don't believe. I just believe first and foremost, people go to what they want to see, and then when the algorithms, because there's 1,000 of those shows that have the panels, the panel discussions, and all of those shows, for the most part, like you said, you'll bounce from one to the other to the other. And for certain people who figured out the algorithm, if you want to identify it, I know that when I put my notifications up for Dr. Tuen, I might get 1 or 2 notifications a week. With Lapeef, even your show, even this channel, I get about 7 to 8 a day of content being put up.
Good.
And that's how. but that's also you understanding the how the algorithm works and making it work for you. It's not just as simple as this is what people want to see. It's how the algorithm actually works. And the legitimacy of that is why like Pat hit it on the head. Why do you care where the masses go when it's the critical mass that's the determinant factor? The American Revolution was won with less than 3% of the colonial population engaged in a war against another superpower at that time, Britain. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to be the change, be the spark, then do so that way. It's impossible because the majority of people, you will never convince them to do this, that, and the other.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I'm not sure how old he is. I can't remember. I think I've watched some because I watched a number of his shows. So he said his age before, but I'm not sure. But with time in this, you understand like what you're saying. You're not gonna get the masses on board.
Well, stay right there for a second, Joe. I don't mean to cut you off. I was just watching earlier, former New York mobster Michael Francis, right? Michael Francis has 1.3 million followers because people want to watch him talk about mob stories. He even comes out and say, I want to talk about something different, but I know y'all all come here for the mob stories. So are we about to say that white people are a bunch of degenerates because they populate his channel and he has 1.3 million followers?
Man, that true crime stuff, all that, man. The masses, people, human beings love to be entertained. History shows us that.
And I think because I want to be like, because I am very critical of black folk. I am. And when I get on here and talk, I understand that there are people in this audience that need to hear somebody be critical because they think that they're the next savior. They're the next whatever. I don't say anything to get the attention of the masses. I'm not playing no reverse psychology games when I get on your show and talk. No, I'm talking to a specific audience every single time. I've identified that person. I know who that person is. And I know that that person is exactly what all of us were at one point when we first got in the game and we thought we was going to be the match to set shit off. And then you run into this shit and you realize, okay, you might be fine, but you're running into the ocean. Bro, so that's my approach, and that's why I'm talking to the dude, like, because he sounds like at one either if he ain't still lit, he's smoldering, he's still smoking, bro. Go ahead and put it out. Find an audience, talk to that audience. Stop trying to set fire to the masses. One, all of that energy you putting out in terms of black people this, black people that, black people ain't gonna do nothing but burn your fuse out. It ain't gonna do nothing but shorten your lifespan. It's not gonna impact the masses because the masses ain't looking for you. You know that. You said it out of your own mouth. We want to be entertained versus educated, and you're trying to educate. They're not looking for you. So stop trying to get them to pay attention to you. Instead, and this is a big problem, right? There are far too many people that are dark workers that want to be in the light. That's where your conflict comes from. It takes a special kind of individual to be a light worker with dark working capabilities, or to be a dark worker that can work in the light. I'm not a light worker. Y'all are light workers. I'm a dark worker. If you're getting to this point, like I understand that if people have been at this shit for 20, 30, 40 years.
But this shit is by design, though.
I get it.
But people been at it that long because the problem that's at hand is by design.
But this is where I'm saying, because I agree with you. The design, the programming is such that everybody we remembers is in the light. And that's by design too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't nobody want to be a dark worker. There's no glory in that. There's no legacy in it.
Everybody we remember them because these are the people that white people told us to remember for the most part.
So my thing is, if you have been in this shit for less than 15 years, especially less than 10, and you burnt out already,
that because you came out the gate sprinting.
You probably ain't a light worker.
You probably
don't got it.
You tried to run a mile and came out sprinting.
I'm gonna say it to you straight up. You ain't it. Don't nobody want to see you. They're not checking. It's something about light workers that makes people turn to them. You don't have it. That don't mean you're not intelligent. That don't mean you can't contribute. That just means you're not
going to be
that thing.
Stage, that level, that standard. You're not going to be up there. You're not going to have that shine.
So what you do is you take your black ass in the back room and you put pencil to paper and you figure out some other way to be helpful. And that's what a lot of you need to do. We don't need all these YouTube, like Joe's doing this thing. PC, every time he comes out, he do his thing. His thing is he just don't come out that much because he tired of people. But every time he come out, he do his thing. Joe is doing his thing. Like they prove. I've tried to come out a couple times. It don't never. So okay, lesson learned. Got it. And as I'm saying that to say, it's not even like I'm saying some shit that ain't. No, I've come out and I've had to learn. That ain't I don't shine like that. That's cool. And brother, if you on that level where you 5, 10, 15 years in or less, especially if you less than 10, and you already burnt out and frustrated and tired, well, it might be time for you to consider that maybe you doing something that you ain't designed to do, or it could be like Joe said, Maybe you think this shit is a 100-meter sprint, and it's really a goddamn super marathon. You got 100 kilometers on you, buddy.
You gotta change your pace.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta change your strategy and your tactics.
You got hills and mountains and valleys and peaks.
Right. I mean, overall, because the overall idea and the tone that I'm hitting at is, yes, Black people, we are a joke, but we are a joke because of the conditioning, and the conditioning was never corrected. And our conditions within the conditioning has gotten worse.
Yeah.
But like he's saying, we're not going to fix that trying to go at the masses. We've tried that. We've tried that here on 2014. This actually makes 10 years on YouTube. 2014 actually made 10 years on YouTube. We're on the shoulders of giants. So this 10 years have been a journey, and I've learned a lot, because I remember when I first started with just my historical videos, and I used to be mad because it had 10 views. It's a video about Harriet Tubman. How the hell you don't want to know about Harriet Tubman? And so I had to mature. I had to grow. I had to learn. You're going to find your audience. You're going to find your people who rock what you rock. If they don't, they don't. But you're not going to save everybody. Even when we started doing a lot of commentary and stuff on here, we was angry. When we did the Freedom Train podcast, we was angry because the masses don't want to wake up. But the masses don't want to wake up for a reason. If we're still angry that the masses don't want to wake up, that means we really don't fully understand what has happened to us and the why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think also. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. No,
I just said we had to as individuals, the three of us, we had to learn the why behind why the masses won't wake up. But it's also a human thing. It's a historical thing. Show me like real movements and revolts and things where you had the masses of this group of people to stand up. That's not what happens. But that comes with experience and maturation and time. So my bad. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, you're right in all aspects, and especially, people forget, man. Life, you got life going. Like when we used to, like, Pat's book. Pat's book came out like a year, 2 years ago. Pat,
2 years, 2021, 2022. Yeah,
Pat was showing us proofs of his book and asking us to proofread the book 10 years ago. That's how long we've been having this conversation. We've literally, we before you had people doing these Zoom chats and things of that nature, we were having those same panel conversations via, party lines or conference calls.
Yeah, free conference call.
And that was a big wake up call for me, because I was one of those people. Man, we need to put past this. And when that sister told me that I will watch this shit burn before we move forward, I said, okie dokie.
What you want me to do it? What you want? How you want me to wake that up?
PC, you just reminded me. I remember when I was writing and working with the organization on Facebook, and I put out a black man's apology to black women. This is over 10 years ago now. And the post got a ton of traction, as all the posts, most of the posts did from that particular organization at that time. And most of the feedback was black women saying, fuck your apology. We don't want it.
That was our first 4-hour conversation.
So you can't invalidate and I've seen over the years, mind you, like PC said, the book, I finished the book in 2012, 2013. I started asking people to proof it around then. But before that, the book was actually a series of articles on the same popular website. Everybody loved every component of those articles, which prompted me to turn it into a book. They loved every single section of those articles, except when I was critical of black women and when I issued the apology. Those were the two components of that series of articles that was unanimously hated by women. Because men kind of was like, all right, I see where you going. And they gave me some grace. There was some men that was frustrated too, but a lot of men was like, I see where you going. Because men were different back then. It's crazy to think men were totally different 10 plus years ago. Anyways, women were not different back then. They were already on some fuck these dudes. And I got the receipts to prove it. So you can't, men only started talking about 5-6 years ago in mass. So we can't keep doing this where we say, okay, men, it's time to quiet down and we got to do boom, 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 boom. And that's why I go back to, no, these conversations are not schoolyard bullshit. The most significant interactions people are going to have in their lives are with people of the opposite sex romantically. Those are core foundational relationships. It might be bullshit to you because you ain't got no women problem. But talk to a man that's been lonely for the last 10 years and ain't got no ass in the last 5 of them. Women is a big deal for him.
Yeah, that's a huge point. Because I talk to a lot of brothers that have been married for over a decade or so. And they keep telling, when I have the conversations with me, they keep saying these issues only exist on the internet. I'm like, fam, you have not been out here.
Yeah. I mean, there's enough evidence on the internet from both sides to see that we, both black men and women, we out here on some fucked up shit. Like there's enough evidence on both sides, you know.
I'm about to get ignored at the supermarket in a few minutes.
So, you know, no,
but I get what the brother's saying, though. I get what the brother's saying.
People are flocking to the dumb shit because we are conditioned to flock to the dumb shit. That's what we are supposed to do. That's what niggas are supposed to do. That's why you make black people niggas and you reinforce niggatry so they gravitate toward the shit that doesn't serve them.
This is where I keep.
And let me do make this point. I'm not saying that the male and female relationships are things that don't serve them. I'm just saying overall, people conditioned to be niggas are going to flock towards stuff that doesn't serve them.
Well, this is the point that I've been trying to make, and we all agreed on it. I'm just making it again because I get the sense that you're wrapping up. The human brain is not designed for intense thinking. It's not designed for that. The brain itself, as a biological organ, is designed with all kinds of shortcuts and neurological pathways that are purely developed so that you don't have to think. So the whole premise of education is to kind of try to guide those shortcuts. Trying to educate an adult, the reason it doesn't work is because those shortcuts are already developed. They're in place. And if you try to reset them, you're going to deal with a massive amount of feedback because the brain is not designed to do that kind of work. It's a survival instinct. The brain eats up a tremendous amount of energy. And when it has to do hard work like critical thinking and advanced calculations, it eats up even more. And what happens when you run out of energy? You die. What happens if you don't have enough energy to get away from something? You die. This is exactly why when you get into a critical situation, your brain functions shut down. The brain is not designed for thinking. People do their best thinking in their leisure when they're not doing anything else, and it just flows in their head. So what I'm saying is, again, we have this unrealistic expectation of what black people are capable of, and it's not based in anything but this fantasy world that we live in. And we often talk about the delusional nature of stupid people that just want to be stupid. we need to spend some time talking about the delusional nature of intelligent people that don't understand how stupid people operate. Just because you like to think, I had to learn this myself. PC has been an unofficial therapist to me for many, many years now. And even Joe, I call him up when I just need somebody to kick me in the ass. I have had to learn to accept that the average person, not only do they not think, they don't want to think, and they will actively do everything in their power not to think. That is what you're witnessing when you witness people flock to Cardi B's newest video versus flocking to Dr. Tia Johnson's newest video.
Of course, that's a no-brainer.
And we just gotta understand it and accept it and trust it, and then you can begin to think about ways to use it to your advantage, i.e., rip the audio off of Cardi B's video and have the video up while you're talking over it.
Well, I mean, because with the amount of information and just pure research and just the things that Dr. T has had, Dr. T should have over 1 million subscribers. But we understand human beings.
Mhm.
We really understand human beings, but we also understand Black people as human beings who have been conditioned under white supremacy. So all the idealistic things that you think that regular people are supposed to do, don't put that towards us, because we are unique. Dr. Claude Anderson said, we are unique people in a unique situation with a unique history to us. And that's why we don't function like other folk. And we never will. Until we fit, well, we never will. We never will function like other people.
No, we never will.
Because the experiences ain't the same. So, and remember, this is going on without correction. But we are a joke, but that's why we're a joke. And you got to fight. We have to fight the conditioning and help ourselves in that way if we don't want to be a joke no more. So yeah. Wake up. So,
we ain't. And we can always be a joke.
FetLifeStation.com, FetLifeStation.com. Link is in the description on FetLifeStation.com. Check out PC. And catch y'all next week, man. Love y'all. Catch the next video coming up.
Mother stuffers.